I'm gonna hit record, and this is one take, no edits. So if you don't want, so just be mindful if you don't want to get too private.
Right.
So let me see about getting this one.
Well, I can't even see me. So pointless. Yeah, I look like a vampire.
God damn, dude.
Like I'm not even there.
This is
like I'm literally not even there.
not gonna. This is structural racism right here.
Yeah, like I'm literally not. Okay, now.
Holy shit, dude!
Yeah.
You look like a reflection.
Yeah, I'm literally. Could it be this? Is there any way you could? Or that's fixed.
No, I can take it out, but I mean,
it would still would change much.
Like as far as how you actually look.
Right. I think you just probably just maybe better off without it, because this light is like maybe not what we need, because it's gonna definitely draw attention to us.
Okay.
This will be fine. We'll figure out.
Yeah.
Then we'll just do it earlier in the day next time. Maybe.
The point is to do it and then have the next one be better. The first one I recorded was just me reading one of my stories.
I think this is even better like this because it can't necessarily see you either.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I wonder if that's some prop I can put there.
Like that might be cool in the future, like to have something that
the hand, the level. There's some symbolism there.
Is it?
I can think of something.
You just, okay.
Well, I mean, a lady friend of mine gave me the hand, and then so that's kind of a feminine symbol, and then the level is a.
It's not a feminine symbol.
For me, it is because a woman gave it to me, and then the thing itself is curvy, is like balls, and curviness, and it's flexible.
Do you know what that is?
Well, hold on a second. Let me explain the counterpoint. Okay. And then this thing is a tool that I use at work, and it's like a typical manly job, landscaping. It's hard. It's angular. And this one's on the ground, whereas this one's more in the sky. So, anyway,
you're saying relatively in the picture?
Well, this is laying on the ground relatively, if we're going to call this the ground, and then this part of the sky. And yeah, in the frame of the camera, one's at the bottom and one's kind of ungrounded.
I actually thought that you knew what it meant. That's why you had it hanging.
No, I don't. I saw I thought it was like Chinese.
It's not.
And she was Arab, and she got it in Jordan.
It's a Moroccan compass. This is actually a tool, the same as that.
That's interesting. So how is this supposed to be a compass?
Right with the stars, it points in directions. These hands shape an arrow. So when you hold it just right and you align it with the stars, it tells you which direction to go.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So in a way, it's appropriate that it is in the sky.
Yes. That's why I thought that you knew what it meant.
No, I didn't.
You'll see a lot of people that are Arabic or mainly people that are Arabic. You'll see them with this.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because then they're both tools for finding what you might call the right way. This one's like you navigate by the stars and true north or whatever, and then the level helps you find like what's actually up and down.
Suppose absolute zero.
So anyway, your dad was in early 30s when he had you.
Yeah.
And in the past, in our last conversation, you described him in a way the interesting part to me was you described him as a person who did not want you to be better than him. Is that
Yes.
fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I think you even used the example of basketball.
Yeah. I mean, do I feel like he feels like, that's what he's doing? Nah. Or that's what he did? Nah, but it's when you look at the situations and you look at I never asked him a lot of questions about why'd you do this, why'd you treat me that way, because he's not the kind of person that would even admit to something like that. Like, he wouldn't come out and say, yeah, I was jealous, or yeah, I wanted to always think of myself as the best at something. I don't think it was a situation like that ever that I can recall, where he was just like, this is why I did this. Now, there were times where he kind of tried to seem like apologize, maybe, for being so tough, I guess. But what's sorry as an adult,
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking like your dad, it's possible like that internal conversation just would never even happen, so he could think that, oh, I'll put him down because I was afraid he was going to surpass me, and if he surpassed me, then I would feel bad about myself. Like, some simple logic like that would not occur to...
No, it wouldn't.
Maybe his personality or men of his generation. And then so now you got to cope with that, and I mean, you say what's sorry as an adult. Like, right now, there's no sorry for me. It's just a loss, and you take it on the chin and you forget about it, or try not. For me, like, that's my solution right now. Like, my dad is in a very vulnerable state. He's pretty old and he's had a couple strokes, and he actually needs me to help him exercise, to take care of his daily functions, and it's like the equivalent for me, your dad, holding you down was like, far as like basketball, and then other things that you can see in retrospect. Like, though I have my own equivalents of that, but it's like those things happen to somebody else now. It's like just another time, and it doesn't have a lot of bearing on the way I treat my dad on a day-to-day basis. Like, it shaped me, but it's not like now I'm like trying to balance the mathematics from 15 years ago. It's just that happened then, and this is just another book I'm living in right now.
I think that might be one of the most positive ways of looking at the situation, but I don't know, man. I mean,
well, let me ask you this, like, are you still angry at your dad?
Nah. Are there things that frustrate me quicker because of our past? Sure.
Like,
do I have
what?
less patience with him? Sure. I actually might have more patience with my average people, like, that I deal with on a regular basis, than I would my dad, just simply because, I don't know, a part of me feels like he doesn't deserve the patience.
Yeah. I'm definitely, there are things that I will, like, snap on with my dad, and you might say, like, structurally that's my revenge, just because I have so little patience with certain things, because yeah, I do. Because I just know what a certain behavior means, and if I don't check it right away, it's going to get even worse.
You didn't get those cigars, did you?
What cigars? Fuck. No, I didn't. I got a cigar for me this weekend.
Some female left a lighter in here.
No, that was me actually. I thought it was funny. It was the Cowboys lighter, and it was pink. But like in this period where I'm taking care of my dad, is like I've yelled at him, like I would yell at a child.
Right.
And partly it's because the bad parts of his personality, which are made are distilled even more now in his vulnerable state, and is like so much more apparent. It's like I have no patience for that.
I definitely understand. Because I mean, my dad, he's a diabetic, you know, and a lot of times, you know, he'll be sick, but it's his own doing because my dad's also an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's like he, in a sense, he's his own worst enemy. Because he has an ailment and it's killing him. And even though he realizes that it's killing him, he's not willing to let go of what he feels like makes him happy, or what he feels like helps him to cope with what he's been dealt in life. So I'm guessing he feels like that the alcohol makes him go numb and forget, so that if he can ease out with his alcohol, then maybe it won't be as tough to ease. I don't know.
Was he a drinker when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, he's been a drinker my whole life.
It's interesting. My dad is like a complete teetotaler. Like I've never seen him drunk my whole life, and my belief is that because like his dad died of a heart attack when my dad was maybe 11.
Yeah.
That was a big influence for him to not smoke, not drink, and to like try to eat healthy my whole life, to the point almost like to a fault, where he would be like an ideologue, like we can't like get this food because it has a certain ingredient in it and that's like supposed to be bad, and it just to the point where it made life unpleasant, and where if he had drank a little bit more, he would be a bit more tolerable as a father, as an individual, and less self-righteous. But I mean, here's another thing as far as like letting go of the past. I had this moment actually when you gave me that stuff the other day. I went drinking and enjoying that, and like after the whole night I realized like I'm just so tired of being angry and sad. Like I just want to be grateful for what I had. And you know what, my dad's uptightness and negativity or whatever, is the good part of that is he gave me a whole lifetime of his presence, which he was deprived of from his own dad because he was, you know, a drinker and a smoker. And you know what, that's what I choose to focus on right now.
So your dad's dad was a drinker and a smoker?
Yeah. I guess typical Cuban, a lot of cigars, drinker. He also saw him as weak. That's one thing that my dad told me growing up, and something that he like with his vices, because his dad indulged in those vices, he was the opposite. And because he saw his own dad as weak, he decided to be the opposite. And again, to a fault, where it just made him unpleasant. And kind of in retrospect, like having a little more perspective with the age I am now, I realize, you know what, it came from a place of like insecurity.
Well, my dad My grandpa, he he was a lot like my dad while my dad was a kid, but my grandpa, he I can't say my grandpa knew when to turn it off as much as my grandpa knew how to be respectful about it. I guess in a sense, like he didn't allow his vices to spill over into his regular life as much as my dad did. My dad was just like, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. Fuck my responsibilities. My grandpa was still like, this is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to do it. But I'm still going to take care of my responsibilities.
Yeah. And that's the kind of alcoholic I feel like I am. No DUIs, no fucking fights, sexual assaults, anything. But that could just be bullshit to self-justify my own way of being.
A long time ago, my dad tried to compare the fact that I smoke to his drinking. They're two things that are non-comparable. And the reason I say that they're non-comparable is because once I build up a tolerance to the smoke, I could sit here and I could smoke this whole blunt. It's not gonna impair me from driving this car. You understand what I'm saying? It's not gonna impair. It's really not even gonna impair my judgment in conversation. It's not gonna impair my mood to a negative degree. If anything, it's gonna make it lighter and more positive, regardless of whether I'm upset or not. So, but if I drink and I'm mad, I'm gonna be an angry drunk. And I feel like that's most people. You're either gonna be an angry drunk or you're gonna be a sad drunk. Your emotions are still gonna show in some way, shape, form, or fashion because you were emotional when you started drinking.
Yeah, they're very different substances. Like, right. And at this point I prefer drinking because when I drink, I'm still in this world where weed will take me somewhere else, and I'm not entirely comfortable being there yet. But I mean, I agree with you. Like, if I'm happy, I'm gonna get happier. If I'm sad, I'm gonna cry. If I'm angry, I'm gonna break something. And it's not uncontrolled, but like, if I know I'm angry and I start drinking, I know where it's gonna go. You gotta work on that. So, do you feel like you're like your father now? Like, what are the kind of the reflections you see?
Man. I mean, I look like him.
Okay.
First and foremost.
Did you always look like him?
Yeah.
That didn't happen till later for me. Now, what about like personality-wise?
I would say we have some similarities as far as personality go. Like, I feel like what we deem to be priority is different. My dad's real selfish, and I'm a person that I can be selfish. So some people might call me selfish, and others might say no, I'm really not. Like, for instance, it really just depends on you as a person. If you're a taker, then I feel like you're definitely gonna feel like I'm a selfish person.
Okay.
Because I don't respond well to takers.
Has there ever been a moment where you did something like you say you just reacted to a situation, like let's say with your wife, and you're like, that's exactly like my dad.
No.
Do you think that's deliberate? Like you're trying to be different from him, or
No, I just
the
think
dynamic is?
I just think we're different.
Okay.
I just think that we're different. I think that the way my dad and I handle situations are completely different. My dad is a lot more impulsive than I am. Meaning that if he's angry, he's a lot quicker to react physically versus me. I'm not gonna be that quick to react physically because I really want to assess the situation. I want to understand what's going on and why before I react. I'm not saying that I don't say shit that's, because everybody does that, but I'm not gonna just flip off the handle for no fucking reason. Is what I'm saying. If I'm getting irate or I'm losing it, there's a reason. I don't just. Anybody that knows me knows that for the most part that I'm pretty mellow.
It's true. With my dad, like, I feel like we're actually like pretty similar personalities. It's just he's like the right wing version and I'm the left wing version of the same person in a way. And especially now that I mean, for me, 31 is as old as I've ever been.
Right.
I know that's still young, but so now that I'm getting quote older, I see like how similar we are. Like, dude, when I did mushrooms that one time, me in my most vulnerable state is like my dad right now. And I can see that we both are afraid to be alone, and we both have a neediness in us that makes people hate us. I don't know, like, how obvious it is now, because, like, I'm aware of it and I'm trying to work on it, but we get love when we're weaker, and so, like, and I think sometimes we lean into that neediness, and makes people hate you, or at least like repulsed by you.
Yeah. It's just like the idea of narcissism. Like,
How so?
Like, I think when we say a person is narcissistic, right?
Okay.
You can't. It's hard to call another person narcissistic when ideally the human instinct is to be narcissistic in the sense of you thinking about yourself. Like, at the end of the day, it's about self-preservation. Like, self is above all else.
Sure.
So
you have to be that way.
Exactly. But by definition, narcissism is basically when you think that everything is about you, and in a sense, every situation that you're in, human, like if you're thinking like a regular human, like we say that we should as regular humans, and we're only concerned with just us, we would think like everything is about us. If a person really and truly minded their own business, like how they say, right? You would think that if you hear something or somebody brings something to you, that it's about you.
Yeah. The thing is, like, you have to learn how to operate with like your self-interest as your guide, but have some higher consciousness to see that, I guess, to see outside of yourself, that even though you're trying to advance your own means, your own agenda, you don't actually think that is the most important thing. It's just the most important thing to you.
So does lack of knowledge make you narcissistic?
Yeah, like in my father's case, I think the culture that he grew up in, because he was a man, because he was wealthy, at least early on in his childhood, in Cuba. I mean, just taught him that the world is there to accommodate you. Like, my father's family, like on his father's side, was like high class people, like professionals and politicians. And his grandfather had an estate where they had like servants so that they could cook for him. One anecdote my father said growing up was that his mother, who was poor, who married into this family, she did not like his father's